I don't care if you have a piece of fabric over this nipple. She's still naked the entire time.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Fat Gay and a Little Straight. I'm Jason and I'm a fat gay.
And I'm David and I'm a little straight.
This week coming out we have a very important movie for this guy over here, and it is X-Men Apocalypse, which means this episode is everything X-Men, which is why I wore my Star Wars hat.
That's why I colored my hair like this. It's not at all.
The X-Men franchise really is what started the resurgence of superhero movies. You would not have Marvel Studios, any of this stuff, if it was not for the X-Men franchise that started in 1999 with Bryan Singer's X-Men.
I mean, a lot of people point to Batman, the Tim Burton Batman films, as showing that superhero films could be more. But it is really the first X-Men film that really created this renaissance of comic book films that we have today.
It's the Little Mermaid of superhero movies.
It totally is. And Wolverine is like Ariel.
In a lot of ways. More ways than one. Yeah.
I really feel like the first X-Men film does still hold up, even viewing today, even with all the advances in special effects. And that really has to do with Bryan Singer completely.
Absolutely. Bryan Singer is essentially the godfather of the X-Men movies. He made one of the best comic book sequels ever, which is X2. It does compare with The Dark Knight in terms of a sequel to a comic book movie.
Definitely.
And I think X-Men 2 truly is, in my opinion, the best X-Men movie that we got.
To me, Days of Future Past is pretty amazing to me. But X2, at the time when it came out, I was blown away that you're able to put all these characters into one film. I didn't have superhero fatigue like I do with some of the movies.
I think that's X-Men's biggest advantage, is that they can throw as many superheroes as they want in, and it doesn't matter, that's the point. It's the X-Men. X-Men can have a bunch of superheroes and only a few of them be fleshed out.
We already know what X-Men as a basic subset of humanity is. We don't need all of their backstories.
The unfortunate thing though is, as the X-Men movies continued after X-Men 2, things got a little shitty. It first started with X-Men 3, The Last Stand. The one positive that I will give X-Men 3, The Last Stand is I think it brings to a head one of the things that I love that Bryan Singer was doing with his X-Men trilogy.
The storyline in X-Men is definitely the way society is reacting to openly gay men and women and transgender people. I don't think that's a secret at all, but I think they do it really well.
Aside from that, the third movie is a flaming dog turd that you step on in front of somebody's door when you ring the doorbell.
It's terrible.
Or they step on.
Terrible.
Terrible.
Terrible. If you can believe it.
X-Men 3 is not the worst that it gets. It got way worse. They made X-Men Origins Wolverine. I don't know where to start. Do we start with the claws on the ladder, where it's like doing the terrible CGI and sparks? Or do we go to the biggest sin of all? That is the bastardization and butchering of Deadpool.
I mean, it really was like the biggest fuck you to anyone who's even a moderate comic book fan.
I don't read the X-Men comics a lot. What the fuck are you doing? It was abysmal.
Abysmal. But you know, they learned and they decided to make a movie which was like pretty much the best comic book movie, which is not the truth at all, which was the next Wolverine movie.
The next Wolverine movie, it's so mediocre, it hurts. This is just fucking boring.
I mean, except for making terrible villains. Not one, not two, but three really awful villains. Like, I'm not sure how you make that many bad villains in one movie. And honestly, there is such a long space where he's just talking to some girl. It's just so long, and I don't think they knew what they were doing.
Everything is a pattern. Things go up, things go down. And the good news is, once the X-Men reached that low point in their movie making, there was Matthew Vaughn.
Matthew Vaughn.
Matthew Vaughn is one of my favorite directors. He directed a great fantasy movie called Stardust, which I think is excellent if you haven't seen it.
It is really an amazing modern fairy tale movie.
And then he made Kick-Ass. And Kick-Ass might be my favorite superhero movie of all time. And the reason it is because it takes my childhood favorite superhero movie, which was Sam Raimi's original Spider-Man. Watching it every night before you go to sleep, you can quote every line. You quoted the lines in your graduation speech.
Did you say with great power comes great responsibility in your graduation speech?
I did not, actually. The quote that I use, I started my speech with Doc Ock's introduction to his speech.
I can't even go with this. This is what comes from going to a Christian high school.
Yep. And he goes, excuse me, before I begin, does anybody is anybody missing wad of $20 bills with a rubber band wrapped around it? Because we found the rubber band. I'm kidding. Terrible joke. On behalf of Oscorp, my name is Dr. Octavius, and on behalf of Norman Osborn, I'd like to welcome you to Oscorp.
Did you actually say that?
Yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
That was a real thing. Now, he's an incredible director, Matthew Vaughn, and then he directed X-Men First Class. You actually feel like you're watching comic panels at some points. Like, even the way the movie is cut is like you're watching comic panels. It's just fun. It's a good movie.
I think the best thing that he gave us with First Class is really the relationship between Xavier and Magneto. That really, in such a small amount of time, because they don't have a lot of time together, they don't have a lot of lines together, but it's really credit given to those two actors who were able to really create that relationship that you can see why they're so fractured in their opposite ends of the struggle.
And while Matthew Vaughn was amazing, he didn't want to stick around for a sequel.
I just get this feeling like he does what he does on that one film, and he doesn't really want to rehash it. He says what he feels like he wants to say, and then he moves on to something he's excited about. I'm hoping with Kingsman, because Kingsman is one of my favorite films, like, ever. I'm hoping he has something really important to say in the second film, and that's why he's staying on, because it could be an incredible second film. On the plus side, him leaving allowed Bryan Singer to come back and give us what is arguably one of the best superhero movies of all time, which is X-Men Days of Future Past.
I wouldn't give it that much praise, but he did give us Days of Future Past, which is a great X-Men movie.
It's not in your top 5?
No, definitely not.
What?
Here's what I say about the X-Men movies. I think the X-Men movies are a perfect popcorn flick. You watch, you don't have too much depth to it, but you enjoy watching all these little characters interact and yada yada yada.
But you got to see Wolverine's ass. I mean...
Days of Future Past is a great movie. They handle Quicksilver perfectly, and it's also hilarious how much better they handle Quicksilver than Joss Whedon did in Age of Ultron. But
he was handcuffed by the fact that he couldn't make him a mutant.
So, we already addressed Deadpool. Deadpool happened, and Deadpool is the best thing to happen to the X-Men franchise. I don't say it's the best X-Men movie because it's technically not an X-Men movie. It's all about Deadpool. David, what are some quick thoughts? What do you think of X-Men Apocalypse?
I mean, I'm excited from the previews. I love the look of Apocalypse. I am not down on it like many other people are. I knew that it wasn't going to stay exactly as it was in the first previews. I know they work on CGI as they go along. I think that the storyline is pretty incredible. I love what I'm hearing about the opening sequence, because Bryan Singer is, if anything, amazing at a opening sequence. His opening sequences make you want to stay, even for the worst films.
Just to echo your comments, I love the look of Apocalypse. Again, it goes back to, I love how the X-Men movies embrace the fantastical while still ground it in reality. So instead of making Apocalypse look like the way the Marvel Cinematic Universe has made Thanos look like, they actually made Apocalypse a tangible human being.
One of the greatest things for this new movie is they're putting Nightcrawler back into the franchise. Nightcrawler, I mean, if anyone knows me as far as my comic book love, there is no one better than Nightcrawler. Well, maybe Daredevil, but I love Nightcrawler a lot. I loved Alan Cumming in X2.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm really enjoying that they're taking a different take. They're taking the more fun, comic, young take on Nightcrawler. I'm just happy that he's in a movie again.
Critics seem to be meh, but as long as I can get a good popcorn movie that I can sit down and enjoy, this is international sign for popcorn, then I'm happy.
It sounds like it's a movie that we're going to enjoy, because we're not going into it expecting the drama or the excellent writing of the Russo brothers. We're expecting to just have fun.
I don't want Citizen Kane in tights. I just want the tights.
Or no tights.
Hi.
So now it comes to the point that has made us world famous with our 10 subscribers.
Hold up, 14. Show some love to those other 4.
Oh, I'm sorry, other 4. 14. What's gay about it and what's straight about it happens to be the exact same thing for us this week, and that is Mystique. I know, coming from a stereotypical gay person like me, that I really buy in. I love playing female superheroes in video games. I love that she's naked and kicking everybody's ass. There's just something that is so fucking fabulous about Mystique.
Now, what's straight about X-Men has got to be the same thing. It's the best character any straight guy can get in a movie, because you could still have a PG-13 movie where some some chick runs around butt naked the entire movie.
And it's not rated R. It's kind of incredible. Well, thank you for joining us for another episode of Fat, Gay, and a Little Straight.
I'm Jason, and I'm a fat gay.
And I'm David, and I'm a little straight.
Please make sure to like,
subscribe,
comment,
share, Instagram.
Bye, Felicia.
Au revoir, Madame Felicia. Girl, you made a good movie.